Man, I ain't gonna lie.
Breaking news tonight, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul. His attorney tells CNN that he is currently being processed. The charges are unclear as of this moment.
Imagine the most exclusive parties in Hollywood, where the rich and famous gather behind closed doors to celebrate life in ways most people could only dream of, or maybe, in this case, have nightmares about. These aren't just your typical illicit get-togethers. No, these are P. Diddy's infamous soirees where the line between fun and something much darker seems to blur. And now, in the face of multiple accusations and lawsuits, the truth about these parties is beginning to come to light in a way that has left everyone from celebrities to fans questioning what really went down.
So I'm telling you right now, a lot of people don't want to get it. There's enough of you to do something, anything. And there's so many of you able to get loud.
It's no secret that Diddy has long been a king of the party scene. His legendary white parties, his star-studded birthday bashes, these were the events you needed to be at if you wanted to be part of Hollywood's elite. But recent revelations have shown that behind the glitz and glam, there may have been something far more sinister brewing. And the more we dig, the more disturbing the details become.
But if there is one, can you read between the lines? There's a call from the prisons. Someone thinks that they have a green light on us that they don't even know what they're talking about.
Let's start with one of the biggest voices raising questions about Diddy's parties, none other than Joe Rogan. Now, Rogan's no stranger to conspiracy theories, but when he started talking about Diddy's gatherings, even his most loyal fans were left in shock. During a recent episode of The Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan didn't hold back as he delved into the stories surrounding these events. He compared the whole situation to something out of a scandalous political drama, saying it felt like an Epstein-type compromise deal. In other words, Rogan suggested that there could be a lot more going on behind the scenes than just partying. Rogan's words weren't just idle speculation. In his usual style, he hinted that these parties weren't just about having a good time, they were about power. According to him, Diddy may have been using these events to gain leverage over the people who attended. Think about it, a room full of Hollywood's most powerful players, no phones allowed, and a strict code of silence. It sounds like the perfect setup for someone to gather dirt on the most influential names in the industry. Rogan even went so far as to suggest that Diddy's alleged actions were part of a bigger plan, a way to control people by compromising them during these wild nights. Rogan's exact words: "I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them."
That's what people were saying, and maybe everybody's a conspiracy theorist now, but that's what people were saying about the Diddy situation. Like when the feds rolled up, with the Hummers and shit, they were like, it wasn't about Diddy. It was about if there were tapes of powerful people there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
They were the ones that called. They're like, I need to protect myself, so go in there with all the things and rip any tapes or any evidence.
But what exactly were the rules at these parties? Well, that's where things get even more interesting and disturbing. One of the most talked about details is the strict no devices policy. Now, it's not unusual for celebrities to ban phones at private events. After all, they want to keep their privacy intact and avoid any embarrassing leaks. But at Diddy's parties, this rule wasn't just about privacy, it was about creating an environment where anything could happen without the risk of evidence making its way to the outside world. Attendees reportedly had to hand over their phones the minute they stepped through the door, ensuring that no photos, videos, or recordings could be taken. This set the tone for the night, creating a bubble where guests were isolated from the outside world and from accountability. Imagine walking into one of these parties, you're surrounded by the biggest names in Hollywood, but there's an eerie sense of secrecy in the air. You know that whatever happens inside those walls, no one outside will ever know. It's a place where the rules of normal society don't apply. And that's exactly how Diddy liked it, according to some sources. But what makes this even more unsettling is that it wasn't just adults at these parties. There's been talk of younger attendees, people who were separated from the adults once the night really got going.
Listen, y'all, I understand that these girls are of age, but this is just disgusting to me. It feels very predatory to me.
Now, the idea of young folks being present at these events has raised a lot of eyebrows. There were reportedly curfews in place, with certain areas off limits to them once the party kicked into high gear. But the fact that they were even there in the first place is troubling, to say the least. According to witnesses, these younger guests were quietly moved to different parts of the house or venue as the night went on, sparking even more questions about what exactly was going on at these parties. Were they just innocent attendees, or was there something more sinister at play? And speaking of the attendees, let's talk about the names that have come up in connection with these gatherings. We're not just talking about random partygoers here. Some of Hollywood's biggest stars have been linked to Diddy's events. Leonardo DiCaprio, Mariah Carey, Kim Kardashian, these are just a few of the celebrities who were reportedly regulars at these parties. But here's the thing, according to witnesses, these A-listers weren't just passive guests. They saw things that would shock anyone, and yet they didn't intervene. This is where Joe Rogan's disbelief really kicks in. He couldn't understand how so many powerful people could witness such questionable behavior and say nothing.
Exactly. You're just like, it's there. I mean, it's not just there. It's everywhere. My news feed is dominated by it. Fox News, CNN, everyone. There's raids at Diddy's house.
Rogan wasn't the only one left baffled by the apparent silence from Hollywood's elite. It's one thing to attend a party, but to turn a blind eye to what was allegedly happening behind closed doors? That's a whole different story. And as more details come to light, it's becoming clear that these celebrities may have seen much more than they ever let on. According to Rogan, the atmosphere at these parties was one of excess, with guests indulging in activities that crossed all sorts of lines. But instead of putting a stop to it, the celebrities just went along with it, enjoying the perks of being invited to such exclusive events. Take Usher, for example. His name has come up more than once in connection to Diddy's parties, and not in a good way. Usher has spoken in the past about living with Diddy when he was younger, and let's just say the stories he's told are enough to raise some serious red flags. In one interview, Usher talked about attending Diddy's infamous Puffy Flavor camp when he was just a teenager. According to Usher, the things he witnessed during that time were wild, and he made it clear that he would never send his own kids to anything like that. When asked if he would let his children attend a similar camp, Usher's response was a firm hell no.
And that has nothing to do with him having this baby or him having this side girl for almost 15 years.
Now, Usher never went into explicit detail about what exactly he saw during his time with Diddy, but his comments have led to a lot of speculation. Some people believe that Usher was exposed to things no teenager should ever have to see, and that his experiences at Diddy's events may have had a lasting impact on him. And then there's Justin Bieber, another young star who was once closely linked to Diddy. Bieber has been relatively silent about his relationship with Diddy since the allegations started coming out, but old videos of the two together have resurfaced, leading to even more questions. In one particularly eyebrow-raising video from 2009, Bieber, who was a minor at the time, is seen hanging out with Diddy as the rapper shows him a flashy Lamborghini. In the video, Diddy tells Bieber that as soon as he gets his license, he'll let him drive the car whenever he's in LA. At the time, it seemed like an innocent interaction between a young star and an industry veteran. But in light of the recent allegations, some people are looking at that video in a whole new light. Was Diddy trying to groom Bieber in the same way he allegedly did with other young stars? It's a question that no one has a clear answer to, but it's one that has left many fans feeling uneasy.
I think it's over.
You think it's over?
I think it's over for him as like a figure in entertainment.
Right. But do you think it's over as him as far as
jail?
Like he gets a cell right next to R. Kelly?
I don't think so.
Bieber, for his part, has reportedly distanced himself from Diddy in the wake of the allegations. According to insiders, Bieber doesn't want to talk publicly about his relationship with Diddy, but he may have to if the situation escalates. So far, he has remained tight-lipped, but the pressure is mounting for him to address his past interactions with the rapper. After all, Bieber was once very close to Diddy, and their friendship was well documented. Could Bieber have seen something during their time together that he's now trying to forget? It's a possibility that has fans and the media alike buzzing with speculation, and Bieber isn't the only one whose name has come up in connection with Diddy's parties. Meek Mill, another big name in the music industry, has also been mentioned in some of the lawsuits that have been filed. In one complaint, an unnamed Philadelphia rapper is described as having been present at one of Diddy's infamous yacht parties, where inappropriate behavior allegedly took place. Although the rapper's name was redacted from the documents, many people believe that it's a reference to Meek Mill, who is originally from Philadelphia and was previously in a high-profile relationship with Nicki Minaj.
Someone said that they weren't there to take stuff, they were there to delete everything. Like the real people that were in there, you know.
Oh,
like
that's
the same
funny.
thing with Epstein.
Oh, that's funny.
It's not just the music industry that's been touched by these allegations either. Hollywood is also feeling the heat, with some of its biggest stars being linked to Diddy's events. The sheer number of celebrities who attended these parties and who may have seen things they'd rather forget has led to a growing sense of unease within the industry. People are starting to wonder just how deep this goes. If Diddy was able to get away with this kind of behavior for so long, who else might be involved? And more importantly, who else might be keeping quiet about what they know? As these questions continue to swirl, it's becoming clear that the story of Diddy's parties is far from over. In fact, it feels like we're only just scratching the surface of something much bigger. The more we learn, the more unsettling the picture becomes. What started as rumors and whispers has now turned into something much more serious, with lawsuits piling up and more people speaking out every day. The revelations about Diddy's behavior are shocking enough on their own, but when you consider the possibility that others were complicit in covering it up, it becomes even harder to stomach.
Everybody who tells the stories like, I saw her go upstairs and these dudes are like right on the couch.
Yeah.
And then I go in this room and these guys are like,
and pros. Like, apparently he was getting male gigolos to girls.
Girls?
Yeah, that was one of the rumors, like the
Male
freak off. So he would
gigolos.
hire the professional to have with the girls. And I think he would watch, allegedly.
But the story doesn't end here. In fact, this may just be the beginning. As more details emerge, we're starting to see that Diddy's parties were just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Could there be even more secrets waiting to be uncovered? And if so, what does that mean for the celebrities who were involved? You know, just when you think you've got a grasp on the wild and twisted world behind Diddy's infamous parties, something even more mind-blowing comes to light. If you thought the celebrity involvement and those eerie no-devices policies were the most insane aspects, buckle up, because the rabbit hole goes a whole lot deeper. We're talking about conspiracy theories that make Hollywood look like a real-life thriller, complete with secret deals, hidden footage, and maybe even ties to the highest levels of power. And the craziest part, Diddy himself might be at the center of it all, not just as a party host, but as a key player in a much larger game. So let's dive into one of the most persistent and jaw-dropping theories surrounding Diddy right now. The idea that his arrest wasn't just about the parties or the lawsuits, but that there's something much bigger going on behind the scenes. Rumors are swirling that Diddy might have been working with federal authorities for years, possibly as some kind of informant. Sounds wild, right? But when you start piecing things together, it's not as far-fetched as it seems. This theory really gained traction after none other than Suge Knight, that Suge Knight spilled the tea during one of his podcast episodes. Suge, who's currently serving time, hinted that Diddy might have been cozying up to the feds for a long time. He dropped the bombshell, saying naturally Puffy been an FBI informant forever, as they would say. Now, Suge is no stranger to controversy, but when someone with his connections starts making claims like that, people listen. Especially since there have been whispers about Diddy's government ties for years. Even Ye, who's known for making some pretty bold statements, once suggested that Diddy was connected to federal agencies. In fact, Ye went as far as calling Diddy a Fed in a now-deleted social media post.
There's people on both sides, right? There's the people on the right that are trying to nail the people that are on the left with this. There's people that are journalists that are trying to nail the people that were involved in this.
This is it,
And they've managed to keep that list from coming out, which shows you how powerful certain people are. That should show you a lot. That should be terrifying.
And it doesn't stop there. Candace Owens, the conservative commentator, threw her full support behind West's theory, suggesting that Diddy's alleged ties to the government could explain why he's managed to avoid serious consequences for so long. We mean, think about it, there have been countless allegations, videos, and even lawsuits against Diddy, yet somehow he's always managed to stay out of jail. Owens took to her social media platform and said, "He's not in jail because he's a FEDCI asset. You tried to tell everyone." It's a theory that's been gaining a lot of attention, especially after federal agents raided Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles earlier this year. What's even more suspicious is the timing of those raids. They didn't just happen out of the blue. According to reports, Homeland Security of all agencies was involved in the investigation, which raises even more questions. Why would Homeland Security be involved in what seems like a standard case of misconduct? Some people are speculating that they weren't just looking into Diddy's alleged wrongdoings, they were searching for something much more valuable, incriminating footage of powerful people.
So Diddy, if you're just joining us here, was just arrested and taken into federal custody in New York tonight. Sources tell TMZ Homeland Security swooped into a Midtown hotel late Monday where Diddy was staying, and they arrested him.
Now, this is where things really start to get interesting. One of the wildest theories floating around is that Diddy may have been collecting dirt on some of the most influential individuals in Hollywood and beyond. Remember those strict no devices rules at his parties? Well, according to some sources, Diddy may have had his own hidden cameras rolling the whole time. The idea is that he wasn't just hosting parties for fun, he was gathering leverage. And when you think about the type of people who attended these events, from A-listers to high-ranking politicians, it's not hard to imagine that some very revealing footage could have been captured. In fact, during an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, comedian Andrew Schulz suggested that the feds raided Diddy's homes not because of the allegations against him, but because they were looking for tapes that could implicate even more powerful figures. Schulz said, when the feds rolled up with the Hummers, they were like, it wasn't about Diddy. It was about if there were tapes of powerful people there. And Rogan, who's seen his fair share of conspiracy theories, responded, yeah, oh, I'm sure. The implication is that Diddy's parties weren't just wild nights of debauchery, they were carefully orchestrated events, designed to capture compromising material on some of the world's most influential people.
Harry was hanging with Diddy.
I mean, everybody hung with Diddy. That's the other tricky thing. Like, Diddy hung out with everybody. And I've spoken to a bunch of people who are like, yo, great dude, like, always there for you, never asked for a single thing.
Till 1 a.m.
And then freak off.
Everybody says, get out of the house.
Yeah.
It's like the gremlins start eating after midnight.
So is it possible that Diddy was sitting on a goldmine of blackmail material? And if so, was that what the feds were really after when they raided his homes? It's worth noting that Diddy's properties weren't just any old houses. We're talking about multi-million-dollar mansions loaded with state-of-the-art security systems and, according to some reports, hundreds of hidden cameras. In fact, one lawsuit filed against Diddy earlier this year claimed that he had cameras installed in practically every room of his homes, specifically to capture footage of his guests. And it's not just Diddy's homes that are under scrutiny. Some of the most shocking claims are related to his infamous yacht parties, where the most powerful and wealthy members of society would gather for what were described as freak-offs. These weren't your typical yacht parties, according to witnesses. They were multi-day events filled with activities that are better left unsaid. And the most disturbing part, some of the people who attended these parties were allegedly filmed without their knowledge, which could explain why Diddy has managed to maintain his influence for so long. If he really does have footage of powerful people in compromising situations, it would give him leverage that most of us can only imagine.
He will be sued, and I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days.
But the question remains, if Diddy was gathering this kind of material, what was he doing with it? Was he using it to protect himself? To control others? Or, as some theories suggest, was he working with federal authorities to build cases against some of the most powerful figures in Hollywood? It's a question that's been on everyone's mind, especially after reports surfaced that Diddy's mansions were raided on the same day that several high-profile lawsuits were filed against him. Coincidence, maybe. But it's hard to ignore the timing.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
And speaking of those lawsuits, they're piling up faster than anyone could have predicted. In fact, one of the most explosive claims to come out of the recent legal drama is that the lawsuits, Diddy wasn't just hosting these parties for fun, he was running a highly organized operation, complete with staff who were responsible for everything from setting up the events to cleaning up afterward. These staff members reportedly knew exactly what was going on behind the scenes, and some of them have even come forward to testify about what they saw. One of the most damning pieces of evidence comes from a lawsuit filed earlier this year, which claims that Diddy's staff was responsible for delivering supplies to his parties. These supplies allegedly included everything from refreshments to more questionable items, and the staff was reportedly instructed to keep everything under wraps. Some of the staff members have described being forced to participate in activities they wanted no part of, while others claim they were threatened with retaliation if they spoke out. It's a shocking glimpse into the inner workings of Diddy's world, and it's left many wondering just how far his influence really extends.
What's best for the people be what's running the thing. We're letting the thing be run by the people that are in power, that are corrupt, that want to keep the power.
But the most unsettling part of all of this is the possibility that Diddy's operation wasn't limited to just Hollywood. There have been whispers that some of the most powerful people in politics may have been connected to his parties as well. Could it be that Diddy was hosting these events not just for celebrities, but for politicians and other influential figures too? It's a theory that's gaining traction, especially after the recent reports of high-profile guests attending Diddy's parties. And if it's true, it could explain why the authorities are so interested in what Diddy has been up to over the years. Of course, Diddy's legal team has denied all of these allegations, calling the lawsuits meritless and insisting that Diddy is innocent. In a statement released shortly after the raids on his homes, Diddy's attorney, Aaron Dyer, said, "There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated." Mr. Combs was never detained but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. Dyer went on to call the raids a witch hunt and claimed that Diddy has been the victim of false accusations.
Oh, man, I just had like a 3.5-hour cry.
But despite these denials, the lawsuits keep coming and the conspiracy theories keep growing. Some people believe that Diddy may have struck a deal with federal authorities to avoid jail time in exchange for turning over evidence against other powerful figures. Others think that Diddy's connections run so deep that he's been able to stay one step ahead of the law for years. And then there are those who believe that Diddy's arrest is just the beginning, that once the full extent of his activities is revealed, it could bring down some of the biggest names in Hollywood and beyond. One thing is for sure, the story of Diddy's parties, his alleged blackmail operation, and his possible government connections is far from over. As more lawsuits are filed and more details come to light, it's becoming clear that this is a scandal that could have far-reaching consequences. The parties may have started as exclusive gatherings for Hollywood's elite, but they've turned into something much darker and much more dangerous. And as the investigation into Diddy's activities continues, we can only imagine what kind of secrets will be uncovered next.
Caligula.
Okay, so then there's the question. It's like, can you take a completely normal person, give them power, and then they become that? Or does it take a power-hungry person that has this void that needs to be filled, and then when they are given that power, you see the worst version of them?
Ask your CIA boy. I bet he's got the answers. I bet he knows the exact formula.
To corrupting somebody or to...
What happens? Like what happens to these people?
So, what do you think? Is Diddy really at the center of a massive conspiracy involving Hollywood's most powerful figures? Or is this just another wild rumor that's gotten out of control? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.